Okay, I know what some of you might be thinking when looking at the title and thumbnail of the video. You'll be like saying, EOD, no one is a must pull. Everyone has their own strengths as well as weaknesses in gacha games. But I think that's not why a lot of people are here. You also want to know my thoughts, and I'm firstly not a politician. I don't have to make very politically correct statements. And I do think that in the near future, perhaps we might have a character that comes closest as a must pull in future if such a character does come about. Currently in the game, the closest character that is super strong is LyouRika, but you can definitely get by with other sustained characters like Bailu, as well as, for example, Natasha to give you that sustain as well. But he certainly is probably the strongest character in the game by versatility and value that he creates. So I think the first question that we need to ask ourselves whenever we think about a must pull, I always think about it from an investment value coming from a finance background, even having EOD money channel also. So the thing about looking at value is understanding the limitations of the playing ground you're playing in. In gacha games, the limitations is clear. We do not have Primo Gems or Stellar Jades resources to get every single character in the game, but yet we have tons of content to tackle, be it whether we need varying elements or be it whether we need like varying classes of characters to play as well. What this means is a character who, if you put one Stellar Jade into, or you put one guarantee into, gives you back more than a particular expected return. For example, if let's say you're just pulling a Quantum Nihility character like Silverwolf, so you get Quantum here, you get Nihility character. But one reason why she gave a lot of value is because she compresses the number of elements you need to build by basically implanting weaknesses in the enemy using her skill ability. Because she's able to drop this weakness into the enemy and they will all have ability to get weakness broken. That is why she's very efficient for her in a sense. She does fulfill more than that. So for every resource you put into one character, she does return you higher value in the long run to tackle content. So that is the first dimension of understanding the playing ground that we are in. So inherently, any character that does more than their job is super good. For example, Silverwolf is one of them, compressing the resources. I would say to some extent, LyouRika is also a similar form, especially if you have, for example, his Eidolon 1, which increases attack. He starts to become more of like a harmony character, so he becomes more than one character as well. So like not only abundance, but also having, for example, buffing abilities in his overall kit. So that's the first aspect in terms of when I think a character becomes high in value. But it still doesn't mean that they are must pull, because their characters' kits. Silverwolf has a downside as well. I talked about it in another video, which is not in the scope of this video, so I won't touch on it. But currently, none of them are must pulls. And I think the next thing that I will look at is, when you look at their kit, how much can they solve? What are the problems that they can solve? A character who can, for example, cleanse debuffs automatically doesn't take too much skill points because he auto-procs. His ultimate ability is AoE damage. At the same time, it's a strip because he removes buffs from the enemy. The very strong ability he has. And on top of that, of course, this one, like I mentioned, it cleanses as well. His talent ability also gives like passive healing. So a character that does more than just one particular niche, just a healer, for example, healing, reviving, I do think that these characters do see higher longevity and higher versatility and use cases. So number two thing that I would think about is use cases. If the character can be used for multiple reasons other than their primary role and fit into many teams, versatility, just slot in, you don't have to think about it, that character ranks very high on my list as well. So second thing is definitely usability, usage. The third thing I would say is alternatives. A character like LyouRika does have his own alternatives. For example, like Bailu in the game, you could also not even care about healers and mitigate it with like shielders to begin with. That is also an alternative to LyouRika's kit. You won't really miss too much if you are missing him. He is a very good character, no doubt, probably the best in the game right now according to my definitions, but he still has his alternatives. So these three categories, if you do not have an alternative, you are very versatile in your use cases, and you also compress or very highly valuable in terms of you just are one character but you fulfill, like for example, a multiple amounts of paths. This character probably it will be closest to a must pull. And on top of that, the fourth thing that I want to talk about is a potential to not only power creep, but for the game developers to totally nullify your kit. A character that I have in mind from another game, for any of you who played, is a character like Venti, who they just introduced heavy mobs and he wasn't able to suck up all the monsters. So that is a way how the developers address a broken character in a game. Again, Shin, for any of you who care about. For those of you who don't care, like you guys don't bother about all the other different games that Hoyoverse makes that we will cover on the channel, like Zenless Zone 02 as well. Let me just put it very simply. For example, if a character is resistant to freeze, characters like Lianqing and for example March 7 will have much less effectiveness. So the developer can just add that in real quick and immediately nullify a lot of the things that is going going on also to make a character unbroken. But what is very difficult to unbreak or make normal again is if your character fulfills too many roles at once and she does it all very strong in every single aspect and fulfilling the previous 3 criteria. In that sense, if a character doesn't seem to be able to be power creep by a particular character, I do think that that character is already a must pull because of not only is she super versatile, long shelf life, high value for the account, can be fit into any situation, as well as low chance of power creep. That character, in my opinion, is possibly a definition of a must pull, and I do think that we will see such a character coming in the near future. Do stay tuned, I think it's very exciting days to come, which does beg the question is, should such a character come about that even possibly power creeps healers, what is the use of healers then? Will healers actually become irrelevant? Closing with that thought, do check out this video where I actually talked about this concept several months ago as well, which I think you might be interested in as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you appreciate such thought-provoking videos, do like and subscribe for more of such future content. See you in the next video.